Sky's been trained to the preset plan as agreed at the beginning of her contract. We started right at the very beginning with food. This is a short video program that I made covering the month of January and the progress that the team of pups made from a fairly chaotic feeding time through to a time where there's a degree of control. And you can see that to start with everybody's milling around a little bit, but gradually a sense of order comes.
Sky in. Good girl. Good girl, Atlas. Atlas, sit. Atlas, sit. Atlas, sit. Good girl. Atlas, in. Good girl. Briar.
All the pups have to learn
Briar, sit.
that the sit command
Briar, sit.
is what gets them the food which is in
Briar,
their
sit.
crate. It's a combination
Briar,
of
sit.
learning
In.
at this stage.
Good girl.
Crate somewhere nice to go. Food's in there waiting for them. So here we are a few days later. And already the pups are starting to recognise their own locations.
Sky, sit.
Sky straight away has come to her, the door of her crate.
Good girl. Sky in. Good girl.
So he was very quick on the uptake with this particular task.
Atlas. Atlas, sit. Atlas, sit.
Atlas is very enthusiastic, very keen,
Atlas, sit. Atlas, sit.
but she's got the sit command.
Atlas in. Briar. Briar, sit. Briar, sit.
And Briar.
Briar in. Good girl. Sky,
So a few days more and look, Atlas has gone straight to her crate.
Sky in.
Enthusiasm got the better of her and saw that Sky was getting first attention, so came back. But no, she's back to her own crate and sitting.
Atlas, sit. Atlas, sit. Good girl. Good girl.
And Briar's already
Briar,
set.
sit. Good girl.
Didn't need the command.
Briar in.
She was there before the command.
Good girl.
But this is after just 10 days of training. And now, here we are.
Good girl, Atlas.
Atlas straight to her crate.
Atlas. Sky, sit.
Sky, ready, sitting,
Sky, sit.
waiting
Good girl. Sky in.
to keep Briar out of the way because she's keen. But there we go.
Atlas, sit.
Atlas is back for a second attempt.
Atlas
Try and
in.
get behind my attention.
Briar, sit. Briar, sit.
And Briar.
Good girl. Briar in.
So out of that initial chaos is coming a reasonable amount of order now. So that was a short video that I made in January. Here we are, another week or two later in February. We're now outside for feeding times
Sit.
and
Sky. Get
no
up.
crates involved.
Atlas, sit.
Still a little bit of temptation
Sky, get
that
up.
needs to be physically restrained, gently, of course, but
Right. Get up.
everybody gets their just rewards if they sit and wait. Great incentive to learning.
Right. Heel. Sky, heel. Leave.
Back
Leave.
indoors, one-on-one now,
Leave.
we can introduce food as a distraction. The idea of coming away from it
Sky, sit.
before sitting and then being sent.
Sky, sit. Good girl. Sky, get up.
This guy's been very good with this.
Sit. Sit. Good girl, sit.
Change of location back in Worcestershire now. Still using feed time as a learning process.
Sit. Atlas. Sit. Sit. Good girls.
And another few weeks on,
Sit.
now integrated into the pack feeding time.
Sit. Atlas, sit.
So we're back to a potentially chaotic situation, but we've got no crates, we've got no leads, just the commands that have been instilled over the last few weeks, apart from the cocker, of course, who's totally deaf and knows that she goes first. Oh, and of course, and the Teckle, who's a law unto herself.
Leave.
Meanwhile, though, the two youngest,
Sky.
two most patient,
Bridget, sit. So. Bridget. Bridget.
and you get there in the end, Bridget. She has to go last because she's the fastest eater and she has the least, and she will stick her nose in other people's bowls if she's given the chance.
Clemmy.
So here we are at the latest stage now,
Sky.
and this really does lead on to further directional training and hunt training.
Sky, get out.
Just a small obstacle to hop over.
Atlas. Atlas.
Atlas is enthusiastic as ever. Just a little patience still required.
Atlas.
But Sky got it right first time.
Atlas, get out.
Pups are still on puppy rations, and that's a half pint measure. So they're getting 1.5 measures, 3/4 of a pint's worth in volume of Royal Canin pup rations, and I get a splash of water on top of that. And this is a very tempting time. There's food being prepared, but Sky here is just patiently waiting. There we go. Not even a word of command now. Just realising that sitting patiently is what gets you what you want most of the time. Unless you're a Spaniel, and then of course it never comes quickly enough.
Hey.
And part of the learning curve as well. If you watch closely here, this was a day or two earlier, and Sky's there. Just gets a little bit too close in Clemmy's face. Here we go. There we go.
Leave. Sky.
So
Clean go. Clean go.
house training, toileting. Command that's being
Clean girl,
used
Sky.
throughout is clean. Oh, another
Leave.
distraction.
Good girl. Clean go.
But
Good
on a hard
girl.
surface within a few seconds. Lead work has been in a number of
Heel, Sky.
situations,
Sky.
locations.
Heel.
The coastal path down in Pembrokeshire. In conjunction with different handlers even. Not sure who this guy is making off around the corner of Leaden Court Stables. But initially, slack lead, encouragement, just wanting the pup to feel comfortable, coming alongside, and Sky's been good with that from the word go. Moving on to a situation where we wanted to head up Still a slack lead at this stage, but just encouraging her to keep her head up. Turn with the handler. Sit when the handler stops, or sometime soon just after.
Sky, heel. Heel.
Also
Good
at a
girl.
fairly early age, introduced to
Heel.
the idea
Good
of
girl.
walking to heel off the
Heel.
lead.
Heel. Sky,
with the
heel.
handler.
Good girl. Sky, sit. Sky, sit.
At these early stages, not
Good girl.
not too critical about
Good girl, Sky.
positioning, but
Sky. Sky.
wanting reaction
Sky.
to the
Good girl. Well
commands.
done.
And there we
Good
go.
girl.
Eye contact
Heel.
as well. Then the idea of being around other dogs while still on the lead. Other dogs that are nothing to do with you. And now we're getting to a situation where shorter lead, closer body position to the handler, sitting promptly, head up, and although the lead's short, still just a little bit slack.
That's it.
Much of the steadiness comes from the very early work with food. If a Labrador's steady to food, should be steady to most things. Foundation's key.
No, sit. Good girl. Sit. Good girl. Sky. Sit. Sit. Good girl. Sit. Good girl. Sky, heel. Sky, heel. Good girl. Sky, heel. Good girl.
Mixing it
Right,
up a
heel.
bit, this time straight into a heel.
Good girl. Good girl. Good girl.
And then a return.
Sit. Good girl. Sit. Good girl. This is good
Praise
girl.
for the fact that you're actually sitting
Sit.
there.
Sit.
And then the recall. Recall with distractions as well. Walking
Atlas,
away with
Sky.
another handler,
Good girls.
but prompt return when whistled. Not quite sure what happened to the sound on this section. But if we had got any, you'd hear now a single whistle and stop to that. And just to reiterate, I'm really chilled. We'll lie down as well as just sit. Recall again and sit before actually coming in. Quite a big step forward now, working with an older dog. It can be very tempting once one dog moves away, but Sky's been pretty solid from fairly early on. Happy to walk close proximity in heel, but giving seniority to the older dog. She's not 100-mile-an-hour dog, but she gets there. I think this one demonstrates quite clearly that she's not a 100-mile-an-hour dog, but this was probably the first hot, warm day of the year. So the basics of any gun dog's work, retrieving. Just an extension of play. Now this was back in either early February or late January. And from very early on, that instinct's there just to
Sit.
retrieve
Sit.
and carry.
Girl. Good girl. Good girl.
Looking to encourage the carrying
Good girl.
aspect with this.
Good girl. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. What you got? Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Sit. Sky, sit. Good girl. Dead. Dead. Good girl. Good.
So that old favourite orange ball again. But very useful because it disappears into the grass and rolls around, leaving a bit of scent, and she's encouraged there to use that scent, get on and find the ball. Even more so in this particular instance, because it takes a wicked bounce into the long grass. Undeterred by the stinging nettles as well. Oh, just a little bit too gentle with it and it got away, but successfully brought back.
Good girl. Sit. Sit. Sit.
Bit of distraction noise now at the throat. Again, a good example of Sky's calm but thorough hunting technique just starting to come into shape.
Sit. Sky, sit.
Working with an older dog
Sit.
again.
Sky, sit.
Got to learn steadiness, not every retrieve's hers.
Sit.
And while she's not totally bomb-proof, she's as good as you think you could get at
Sit. Good
6
girl.
months of age.
Good girl.
Quite
girl.
happy to So the crate has been the centre of her life for the first few weeks, certainly. But there's been all sorts of other interesting distractions.
Leave.
You never know when
Good
a cat's going to turn up.
Clean girl. Good girl.
And horses, they're a major distraction.
Harris, I felt that. You're still right here.
Good girl. Good girl, Sky.
She has also been introduced to cattle and sheep. Doesn't always have the video to hand.
Sky, sit. Sky, sit.
Couldn't eat a whole one, Dad. So, doing all the outdoor things and the retriever and lifestyle that a good working dog will have is great, but here we've got a little bit of home life, a couple of time lapses. One of me doing a bit of decorating, and another one me just sitting having my breakfast. But if you'll notice, Sky, far left, and Atlas in their beds in the house. No pestering, no wandering, Just content. Social
Good
settings
girls.
as well.
Sit. Good girl. Sit.
You never know quite who's going to be around.
Good girl.
Taking it all in her stride. Can be tiring. But then some socialisation isn't quite as relaxing when there's a tackle involved. It's really a bit strong, vicious Bridget. But Sky takes it all in her stride.
Good girl.
Still got one or two things to learn. Multitasking isn't
Heel.
perhaps her best point.
Good girl. Heel.
Concentrating here on just holding the dummy, carrying the dummy,
Sky, sit.
whilst doing a little
Sky,
bit of
sit.
leading heel work.
Sky,
And
sit.
and hold at the same time.
Sit. Sky, sit.
Don't know.
Good
Things at
girl.
once, no, maybe not.
Good girl. Good girl.
Sky, in.
So this busy young pup has had to learn to travel a fair bit, as you'll have seen. So
Sky,
in
in.
and out of the van, as everything else, takes it all in her stride. Not encouraged to jump in and out at this stage, but puts her front feet up on the step, just gets a lift in. So, 7 months in, I think she's had a great start. I think the foundations are all in place. In the next few months, she's ready to move on to the next level, whatever that might bring. Good luck, Sky.